This is a fictional romantic story created for entertainment purposes only. Deborah Wood took off her engagement ring at the exact table where her fiance had called her fat 12 months earlier. But this time, she wasn't crying. She was sitting across from the restaurant owner who'd kicked him out that night. And somewhere between that first plate of forbidden short ribs and discovering he'd been secretly reading her food blog for 8 months, the corporate lawyer who'd spent years making herself smaller for the wrong man found herself walking away from her 6-figure salary to defend immigrant restaurant owners while falling for someone who called her stunning and actually meant it. But let me show you exactly how one public humiliation and a stranger's quiet courage turned a woman who couldn't order dessert into someone who finally chose herself. If you want to see more stories about women who stop shrinking and start living, hit that like button and subscribe, because Deborah's journey from that humiliating dinner to building her own law practice while planning a wedding that actually celebrates her is just getting started. Deborah Wood adjusted her engagement ring for the 3rd time in an hour. The diamond caught the last rays of sunlight streaming through her office window on the 42nd floor of Sterling & Associates, one of Chicago's most prestigious corporate law firms. 14 months she'd worn this ring, 6 weeks until the wedding, and lately it felt heavier than it should. Her phone buzzed. "Tyler, don't be late. Wear something that fits." She stared at the message, that familiar tightness forming in her chest. Something that fits, as if she didn't know her own body, as if she needed reminding that Tyler had opinions about everything she wore, ate, said, did. Deborah closed the file on her desk. Another merger contract, another set of billionaires getting richer, and opened her laptop's private browser. The screen filled with color, golden fried chicken, pillowy bao buns, chocolate cake with ganache dripping down the sides. Is Chicago Eats with Deborah her secret? 25,000 followers who knew her as the woman who found joy in every bite, who wrote about food like it was poetry, who believed a good meal could heal almost anything. Tyler didn't know about the blog. He'd think it was frivolous, a waste of her Boston College business degree and her 6-figure salary. She scrolled through her latest post, a deep dive on a family-owned Thai restaurant in Pilsen. The comments made her smile. "Your descriptions make me hungry. Went there because of you, best pad Thai of my life. You have a gift." Tyler would say she had a problem. With food, with her body, with her priorities. Her phone buzzed again. 7:30 reservation at Azure. "Don't embarrass me." Deborah locked her computer and gathered her things. The office was already emptying, junior associates rushing home to their real lives. She used to love Friday evenings. Now they just meant another performance. Her apartment in Streeterville was exactly what Tyler wanted. Minimalist, modern, beige. He'd helped her pick everything. After they got engaged, slowly replacing her grandmother's quilts and her colorful art prints with investment pieces that had no soul. But in the back of her closet, hidden behind the structured blazers and the neutral dresses Tyler approved of, were her real clothes. Bright colors, soft fabrics, things that made her feel like herself. Tonight, she pulled out the red dress. Fitted but comfortable, it hugged her curves in a way that used to make her feel beautiful. Now she just wondered if Tyler would comment. The dress had felt perfect when she bought it last month. Now, standing in front of the mirror, she second-guessed everything. She wasn't a different size than she'd been in law school. Maybe 5 pounds heavier, maybe 10. Her body had changed the way bodies do in your late 20s, softer in some places, stronger in others. She'd never thought much about it until Tyler started thinking about it for her. Her phone pinged. Tyler had sent her a link to a Peloton. Just thinking of you. Deborah set the phone down and finished her makeup. Soft waves in her natural hair, the earrings Tyler gave her for her birthday, a touch of red lipstick that matched the dress. She looked good. She knew she looked good. So why did she feel like she was preparing for battle? The Uber dropped her at Wells Street in River North. Azure sat mid-block like a jewel box, all glass and warm light. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, she could see the restaurant humming with Friday night energy. She'd been following Azure since it opened 2 years ago. Her blog had featured it 3 times, the opening review, a spring menu update, a piece on their innovative fusion desserts. She'd never told Tyler about any of them. He thought corporate law was the only respectable career. Her food blog? He'd call it a hobby, a distraction. Something she'd give up once they were married, and she was busy being Mrs. Tyler Morrison. Deborah pushed through the glass doors. The host greeted her warmly, but her eyes were already searching for Tyler. He was at a corner table, phone pressed to his ear, barely glancing up as she approached. She sat down. He held up one finger, just a minute, and continued his call. Through the open kitchen, she caught a glimpse of controlled chaos. Chefs moving with precision, flames leaping from woks, plates being assembled like art. And near the entrance, she saw him, the owner. She recognized him from her research, though she'd never included his photo in her blog posts. Kang Min, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark suit that looked effortlessly elegant. He was greeting guests personally, his attention fully present with each person. When an elderly couple thanked him for their meal, he bowed slightly, genuine warmth in his smile. Their eyes met for just a moment. He nodded, a small gesture of acknowledgement, and something in his expression made her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in months. Then Tyler ended his call. "You're late," he said, though she wasn't. "The dress is fine, I guess. A little snug, but fine." Deborah felt the warmth from that brief eye contact evaporate. She sat down, smoothed the red fabric over her lap, and prepared to make herself smaller. The way she always did, the way she'd been doing for 14 months, the way she was tired of doing. But tonight was supposed to be special, their anniversary. Maybe Tyler would remember why he'd proposed in the first place. Maybe he'd see her the way that stranger at the door had just seen her, like she was someone worth noticing. The server approached with menus, and Deborah allowed herself one small rebellion. She'd at least look at the dessert menu later, even if she wouldn't order anything, even if Tyler wouldn't let her. The interior of Azure was even more stunning than the photos Deborah had studied for her blog. Exposed brick walls softened by warm lighting. Tables set with precision but not pretension. The open kitchen glowed like a stage, chefs orchestrating their dance of fire and flavor. Through the western windows, the Chicago River caught the last pink streaks of sunset. Deborah had written 3 posts about this place, each one a love letter to what Kang Min had created. Modern Korean cuisine meeting classic technique. Bold flavors that respected tradition while pushing boundaries. The kind of food that made you close your eyes on the first bite. Tyler hadn't read any of those posts. He didn't know they existed. Finally, Tyler set down his phone as she slid into the booth. "I already ordered wine. Hope that's okay." It wasn't a question. Their server appeared, a young woman with kind eyes and an accent Deborah couldn't quite place. "Good evening. Can I tell you about our specials?" "We're fine," Tyler said, not looking at her. "I'll have the miso black cod. She'll have the citrus salad and the grilled salmon. Dressing on the side. No rice." The server's eyes flicked to Deborah, a question in them. Deborah managed a small smile. That sounds perfect. It didn't sound perfect. She'd been dreaming about their braised short rib for weeks. She'd seen the photos on Instagram, meat so tender it fell apart, glazed with gochujang and ginger, served over coconut rice with pickled vegetables. Her followers had tagged her in their photos, raving about it. The short rib is supposed to be incredible, she said, testing the waters. Tyler looked up from his phone. Deborah, the wedding is in 6 weeks. I know. Do you? Because the dress was already tight at your last fitting. It wasn't tight. Sarah said it fit perfectly. Her best friend, her maid of honor, had actually said it looked stunning. Sarah's being nice. I'm being honest. He reached across the table, squeezed her hand. To anyone watching, it might have looked affectionate. I'm trying to help you, babe. Someone has to. The server returned with wine. Tyler tasted it, nodded approval, then immediately returned to his phone. Some email that couldn't wait. Some deal more important than their anniversary dinner. Deborah sipped her wine and watched the kitchen. Kang Min had moved from the host stand to the pass, checking each plate before it left. His attention to detail was absolute. When a dish didn't meet his standards, he sent it back with a quiet word to the chef. Not angry, just exacting. He glanced up, caught her watching. For a moment, his expression shifted. Recognition, maybe. Then his phone rang, and he stepped away. Tyler, she tried again. Can we talk about the honeymoon? I found this amazing food tour in Tokyo. We're going to Turks and Caicos. I already booked it. He didn't look up. Beach resort, all inclusive. You can relax, work on your tan. Maybe drop a few pounds before we get there. Thought we were deciding together. I decided. You'll love it. Their food arrived. Her salad was beautiful. Microgreens, citrus supremes, edible flowers, but it wasn't what she wanted. Tyler's black cod looked incredible. The miso glaze caramelized to perfection. She could smell the sweetness from across the table. How is it? She asked. Good. How's the salad? Fine. They ate in silence. Tyler scrolled through his phone between bites. Deborah tried to find joy in her meal, but all she could think about was the short rib she wasn't eating, the rice she wasn't allowed, the dessert menu she wouldn't see. Around them, the restaurant hummed with life. Couples leaning close, sharing bites from each other's plates. Friends laughing over soju cocktails. A family teaching their teenage daughter how to use chopsticks properly. Everyone seemed to be actually enjoying their food, their company, their Friday night. The server cleared their plates. Can I interest you in dessert? Our pastry chef makes an incredible matcha creme brulee. And we have a special tonight. Black sesame ice cream with honey tuile. Deborah's heart lifted. Oh, that sounds... Just the check, Tyler interrupted. We're fine. Actually, Deborah heard herself say, could I see the dessert menu? The server brightened. Of course. She returned quickly with a leather-bound menu, setting it in front of Deborah like an offering. Tyler's face changed. That look she'd learned to recognize over 14 months. Judgment dressed up as concern. Disappointment masked as care. Deborah, I just want to look. We talked about this. About looking at a menu. About making good choices. His voice stayed level, reasonable. That was the worst part. He never yelled. Never lost control. Just slowly, steadily, made her feel like she was the problem. The wedding photos are forever. Don't you want to look your best? You've been eating a lot lately, I've noticed. The snacking at night, the extra portions. Her face went hot. 2 tables over, an older couple was pretending not to listen. I haven't been. You have. And honestly, he leaned back, his expression almost pitying. You're getting a little fat, babe. The dress barely zipped last week. Maybe skip dessert tonight. The word hung in the air between them. Fat. The dessert menu blurred in front of her. Deborah felt tears prickling behind her eyes, her throat tightening. Not here. Not in public. Not in this beautiful restaurant she'd written about with such joy. I'm just being honest, Tyler continued, his tone gentle now, like he was explaining something simple to a child. Someone has to be. You want to look good for my family, right? My mom's already concerned about... Sir. The voice cut through Tyler's words like a blade. Deborah looked up. Kang Min stood beside their table, and his eyes were fixed on Tyler with an expression that made the air feel dangerous. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Kang Min's voice was quiet, controlled, but something in it made the nearby tables go silent. He stood beside their booth, tall and absolutely still, his presence somehow filling the space without aggression. Tyler blinked up at him, clearly taken aback. Excuse me? You need to leave my restaurant, now. You're... Tyler's expression shifted as recognition dawned. Listen, I don't know what you think you heard, but this is a private conversation between me and my fiancé. Your fiancé who is sitting in my establishment being verbally abused. Kang Min's tone didn't rise, didn't waver. That's not a private conversation. That's my business. Deborah sat frozen, her hands gripping the edge of the table. She could feel every eye in the restaurant on them. The older couple, 2 tables over, had stopped pretending not to listen. A server stood motionless near the kitchen, watching. Even the background music seemed quieter. Abused? Tyler laughed, the sound sharp and ugly. I'm trying to help her. We have a wedding in 6 weeks, and she's gained weight. I'm being honest. Someone has to be. No one has to be cruel. Kang Min stepped closer, and Tyler leaned back instinctively. Especially not in public. Especially not to someone they claim to love. This is insane. Tyler's face flushed. Do you know who I am? I'm a partner at Morrison & Dalton. We could buy this place 10 times over. Then I suggest you use that money to learn some basic human decency. Kang Min's hand moved to Deborah's shoulder, the touch gentle but unmistakably protective. She felt the warmth through the red fabric of her dress, grounding her. You have 10 seconds to leave before I call security. Tyler stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. This is ridiculous. Deborah, let's go. Deborah didn't move, couldn't move. Her whole body was shaking, tears blurring her vision. But underneath the humiliation was something else, something that felt almost like relief. Deborah. Tyler's voice hardened. We're leaving. Now. No. The word came out barely a whisper, but Kang Min heard it. His hand on her shoulder squeezed gently, encouragingly. What did you say? She said no. Kang Min's other hand moved to his phone. 8 seconds. You can't be serious. Deborah, this is embarrassing. For both of us. The only person being embarrassed here is you, Kang Min said. 6 seconds. Tyler grabbed his jacket from the booth, his movements jerky with anger. Fine. We'll deal with this at home when you're being rational. He looked at Deborah, and his expression was pure contempt. When you're ready to apologize for this scene, you know where to find me. 4 seconds. This isn't over, Tyler said, but he was already backing away. You're making a huge mistake, Deborah. No one else is going to want you. Not looking like... 2 seconds. Kang Min's voice dropped even lower, and whatever Tyler saw in his face made him stop talking. Tyler turned and walked toward the door, weaving between tables. The restaurant was absolutely silent now, everyone watching. Just before he reached the exit, he turned back. "You'll regret this, both of you." Then he was gone. The silence stretched for another beat, then two. Then the restaurant slowly came back to life. Conversations resuming, silverware clinking, the kitchen coming back into focus. But Deborah couldn't hear any of it over the rushing in her ears. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. 14 months with Tyler. 6 weeks until a wedding that was already planned, already paid for. Her parents had flown in from Atlanta last month to see the venue. The dress was hanging in her closet, alterations complete. The invitations had been mailed, and she'd just let a stranger kick her fiancé out of a restaurant. "I'm sorry." The words tumbled out as tears spilled down her cheeks. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cause a scene. I should go. I should..." "Please don't. Apologize." Kang-min moved to sit across from her where Tyler had been, his movements careful, unthreatening. Up close, she could see the intensity in his dark eyes, the sharp line of his jaw, the way his hands were steady when hers were still shaking. "You have nothing to apologize for. I ruined your restaurant's atmosphere. Everyone's staring. They're staring because they're glad someone finally said something." He nodded toward the older couple. "That woman has been ready to throw her wine in his face for the past 5 minutes." Deborah let out a sound between a laugh and a sob. She pressed her palms against her eyes, trying to stop crying, trying to pull herself together. "I don't even know you." "No," he said quietly, "but I know you." She looked up at him, confused. Kang-min's expression softened completely, all the danger from moments ago replaced by something gentle. When he spoke again, his voice was almost tender. "Chicago eats with Deborah, right?" Deborah's breath caught. How do you..." "I've been following your blog for 8 months. A small smile tugged at his lips. "You wrote about Azure 3 times. Each review was so thoughtful, so generous. You talked about my food like it mattered, like it meant something beyond just eating." "It does mean something," she said automatically, then stopped. "Wait, you read my blog? Every post. You have a gift for finding joy in food, for seeing the story behind every dish." He paused. "And you deserve someone who sees that gift, who celebrates it, not someone who makes you feel guilty for wanting dessert." Fresh tears spilled over, but these felt different, cleaner somehow. "You're perfect," Kang-min said, and the words hit her like a physical thing. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Deborah stared at him, this stranger who just defended her honor like something out of a movie, who read her blog, who looked at her like she was worth defending. "I don't understand," she whispered. "You don't have to, not yet." He stood, smoothing his suit jacket. "But you should stay. Have dessert. Have the short rib you wanted. On the house. All of it." "I can't." "You can, and you should." His smile was genuine now, warm. "I'll give you some space. But Deborah..." He waited until she met his eyes. "You're stunning, exactly as you are." Then he walked away, back toward the kitchen, leaving her alone at the table with the dessert menu still open in front of her. Deborah sat alone at the table, the dessert menu still open in front of her, her hands still trembling. Around her, the restaurant had returned to its normal rhythm, but she felt suspended outside of time. What had just happened? Who was this man who'd read her secret blog, who'd defended her without hesitation, who'd called her stunning like he actually meant it? She should leave. Call an Uber. Go home. Call Tyler. Apologize. Except she didn't want to apologize. For the first time in 14 months, she didn't want to make herself smaller. A server approached. Not their original server, but a young man with a gentle smile. "Ms. Wood, Mr. Kang asked me to bring you this." He set down a small plate with the matcha creme brulee she'd seen on the menu. "He said to tell you that the first crack of the caramelized sugar is the best part. Don't let it sit too long." Deborah stared at the dessert. The top glistened like amber glass, perfect and untouched. She picked up the spoon, tapped it against the surface. The sugar shattered with a satisfying crack, revealing the creamy green custard beneath. She took a bite. Oh, it was perfect. The bitterness of the matcha balanced by the sweetness of the sugar, the texture silky and rich. She closed her eyes, let herself actually taste it, actually enjoy it without guilt or calculation or Tyler's voice in her head counting calories. When she opened her eyes, Kang Min was standing beside the table again. "May I?" He gestured to the seat Tyler had vacated. She nodded, not trusting her voice. He sat down, and up close she could see the details she'd missed before. The slight silver at his temples, the fine lines around his eyes that suggested he smiled often, the way his suit fit perfectly because it was probably custom-made. Everything about him spoke of success, but there was nothing showy about it. Just quiet confidence. "How is it?" he asked. "Perfect." She took another bite to prove it. "Your pastry chef is incredibly talented. I'll tell him you said so. He follows your blog too. We all do, actually. The whole kitchen staff." Kang Min leaned back slightly, giving her space. "When you posted about our honey butter mochi donuts, we sold out 3 days in a row. You have that effect. I have 200 followers who humor me." 25,000, he corrected gently. "I checked this afternoon." Deborah's spoon paused halfway to her mouth. "You checked my blog today?" "I check it every day." He said it simply, like it was the most natural thing in the world. "I've been following you since last April. Your review of Mrs. Park's restaurant in Pilsen." She remembered that post. A tiny Korean spot run by a grandmother. Authentic home cooking, struggling to stay open. She'd written about it with all the love she felt, urged her followers to visit, to support, to taste food that carried generations of history in every bite. "That review saved her business," Kang Min said. "She's my mother's best friend. After your post went live, she had lines out the door for weeks. She still does. She told my mother she wanted to thank you in person, but she didn't know how to find you. I don't do it for thanks. I know. That's why your writing is so powerful. You do it for love." He paused. "The way food should be. The way life should be." Deborah set down her spoon, really looking at him now. "Why did you do that? Kick him out? You could have just ignored it." "I couldn't." His expression grew serious. "I was sitting right behind you, heard everything he said to you throughout dinner, every criticism, every put-down dressed up as concern. I kept thinking someone should say something, do something." He met her eyes. "Then he called you fat, and I couldn't stay quiet anymore. You don't know me well enough to... I know you better than he does." Kang Min's voice was firm but not aggressive. "I know you celebrate food as culture, as memory, as love. I know you spend hours researching the history behind dishes, finding the family stories. I know you drove to Aurora in a snowstorm last February to feature a Palestinian bakery that was struggling. I know you use your platform to lift up small businesses, immigrant-owned restaurants, people like my parents who came here with nothing but recipes and dreams." Deborah felt her throat tighten again, but not with humiliation this time, with something closer to recognition, being seen. "I know you write about food the way it should be written about," he continued, with joy, with reverence, with the understanding that feeding someone is an act of love. And I know that anyone who makes you feel guilty for wanting dessert doesn't deserve to sit across from you. You got all that from a food blog? I notice everything. He smiled slightly. It's why I'm good at what I do. Details matter. And you, Ms. Wood, are detailed in ways that reveal character. You're passionate. You're thoughtful. You see beauty in things other people overlook. You have the kind of soul that understands what I'm trying to do here at Azure, honoring tradition while creating something new. I'm not... She stopped, unsure what she was trying to say. Not perfect, not worth defending, not stunning. You are, he said, reading her thoughts, and you deserve better than that. They sat in silence for a moment. The restaurant moved around them, plates being delivered, wine being poured, conversations flowing. But at their table, there was just this bubble of understanding. I opened Azure 2 years ago, Kang Min said finally. My parents immigrated from Seoul in the 80s, worked in other people's restaurants their whole lives. My father was a line cook. My mother did prep work. They wanted me to be a doctor, a lawyer, something respectable. Instead, I became a chef, broke their hearts a little. But you're successful. Now, yes. But success wasn't the point. The point was honoring what they taught me, that food is how we show love, how we preserve culture, how we build community. That's what you understand in your writing. That's what drew me to your blog. He paused. That's what made me want to meet you. You wanted to meet me? For months, I kept hoping you'd come in for a reservation, that I'd have an excuse to introduce myself, to thank you for understanding what I'm trying to do here. His smile turned rueful. I didn't imagine our first meeting would be like this, but I'm not sorry it happened. Deborah looked at this man, this stranger who wasn't really a stranger, who'd been reading her words for 8 months, who'd memorized her posts, who'd kicked out her fiancé for her. Ex-fiancé, she realized. That's what Tyler was now. There was no coming back from this. The thought should have terrified her. Instead, she felt something close to relief. Stay, Kang Min said, reading her expression again. Have the short rib you wanted. Let me bring you food that makes you happy instead of guilty. And if you want company, I'd be honored to join you. If you want space, I understand that too. Why? The question came out raw. Why do you care? Because I've spent 8 months getting to know you through your words. Because anyone who writes with that much passion and joy deserves to experience it themselves. Because... He stopped, seemed to consider his next words carefully. Because you're remarkable, Deborah Wood, and remarkable people should be celebrated, not diminished. She looked at him, at this man who saw her, really saw her, in a way Tyler never had. Okay, she heard herself say, bring me the short rib. His smile was like sunrise. Kang Min disappeared into the kitchen and returned minutes later carrying a plate himself. He set it down in front of Deborah like an offering. The short rib was art. The meat glistened under the soft light, so tender she could see where it had already begun to fall apart. The gochujang glaze caught the light like lacquer, deep red-brown and glossy. Beneath it, coconut rice formed a perfect white canvas, dotted with black sesame seeds. Pickled vegetables added pops of color. Radish, cucumber, carrots cut into delicate matchsticks. The smell hit her next. Garlic and ginger. The sweet heat of Korean chili paste. Something deeper, richer. The kind of flavor that only came from hours of slow braising. Her mouth watered. My grandmother's recipe, Kang Min said, sitting down across from her again. She made it every Sunday when I was growing up. Spent all morning in the kitchen, the whole apartment smelling like this. She said good galbi Jim takes patience. You can't rush love. Deborah picked up her fork, cut into the meat. It fell apart at the slightest pressure, the glaze coating her fork. She brought it to her mouth. The first taste was revelation. The meat dissolved on her tongue, rich and savory and sweet all at once. The gochujang brought heat but not pain, just warmth that bloomed and faded, making room for the ginger's brightness, the garlic's depth. The coconut rice was the perfect canvas, slightly sweet, cooling. The pickled vegetables cut through the richness with acid and crunch. Deborah closed her eyes, tasted, really tasted, without counting calories or imagining Tyler's commentary. Just pure sensation, pure pleasure, pure joy. When she opened her eyes, they were wet with tears. Too spicy, Kangmin asked, concerned. Perfect, her voice cracked. It's absolutely perfect. Then why are you crying? Because I can't remember the last time I let myself enjoy something like this. The confession tumbled out, without guilt, without hearing Tyler's voice, telling me I shouldn't, I can't, I'm making a mistake. I forgot what it felt like, to just be happy about food. Kangmin's expression softened. This is what food should do, make you feel alive, not guilty. My grandmother used to say that food is love made visible. When you feed someone, you're saying, I see you, I care about you, your happiness matters. Deborah took another bite, then another. Let herself feel the joy of it, the comfort, the pure sensory pleasure of something made with skill and care and, yes, love. Tell me about your grandmother, she said. So he did. About the woman who raised him while his parents worked double shifts, who taught him to make kimchi at 6, to respect ingredients, to understand that cooking was about more than just following recipes. It was about history, identity, love. She came to Seoul from the countryside during the war, lost everything, but she had her recipes, the ones her mother taught her, and her mother before that. She said those recipes kept her tethered to who she was, even when everything else was gone. He paused. When she moved here to be with my parents, she brought those recipes with her, taught them to me, made me promise I'd never forget. Is she still? She passed 3 years ago, but every dish at Azure carries something she taught me. He gestured to the short rib. This one especially. She used to make it when I was sad, or stressed, or needed to remember that I was loved. Deborah set down her fork. That's what my grandmother did too. Different food, same language. Tell me. So she did. About summers in Atlanta, her grandmother's kitchen always smelling like something miraculous. Collard greens and cornbread, peach cobbler, fried chicken that people drove from 3 counties over to taste. How she'd stand on a stool beside her grandmother, learning to measure by feel, to know when something was done by smell, to understand that good food took time and attention and love. She used to say, baby girl, when you cook for someone, you're giving them a piece of your soul. Make sure it's a piece worth having. Deborah smiled at the memory. I think about that every time I write a blog post. Am I giving people something worth having? Am I honoring the souls that went into making this food? You are, Kangmin said. That's why your writing resonates. You understand the exchange, the sacred act of feeding and being fed. They talked for hours about food as culture, as resistance, as preservation, about the restaurants they loved, the dishes that haunted them, the meals that changed their lives. He told her about traveling to Seoul, eating at pojanggachas, street tents, finding flavors he'd only imagined. She told him about finding her grandmother's handwritten recipe cards after she died, unable to make the dishes without crying. Why did you stop cooking? he asked. I didn't stop exactly. I just put it away. When I went to law school, my parents were so proud. First person in our family with a graduate degree. I couldn't tell them I'd rather be in a kitchen than a courtroom. It felt ungrateful. So I became a lawyer, successful, respectable, everything they wanted. But not happy. No, not happy. She looked at the empty plate in front of her. The blog is the only piece of that joy I let myself keep, and even that I hide. From Tyler. From everyone. It feels silly, you know. I'm a corporate lawyer. I should be focused on mergers and acquisitions, not the perfect bowl of pho. Why can't you be both? Tyler said I can't. He said I need to choose. Be serious or be frivolous. Tyler, Kang Min said carefully, was wrong about many things. Deborah laughed, surprising herself. Around them, she suddenly noticed the restaurant had changed. Most tables were empty. Staff was cleaning, resetting for tomorrow. The kitchen lights had dimmed. She checked her phone. 11:47 p.m. They'd been talking for over 3 hours. 17 missed calls from Tyler. 32 text messages. She didn't open them. Didn't want his words to intrude on this bubble of peace she'd found. I should go, she said, though she didn't want to. Let me walk you to your car. Outside, River North had quieted. The night air was cool, carrying the scent of the river. Her Lexus was parked 2 blocks away. They walked slowly, neither wanting the evening to end. Thank you, Deborah said, when they reached her car. For everything. For defending me. For the food. For seeing me. Thank you for staying. For giving me the chance to meet the woman behind the words I've admired for months. He pulled out his phone. May I have your number? For food recommendations. For when you're ready to write about Azure again. For... He stopped. For whatever you're comfortable with. She took his phone, entered her number, handed it back. Deborah, he said as she opened her car door. You deserve someone who celebrates you, who encourages your passion instead of dismissing it, who makes you feel the way my grandmother's short rib made you feel tonight. Seen, cared for, worthy of something made with love. I don't know if that person exists. He does. Kang Min's smile was gentle. You just haven't been looking in the right places. She drove home with the taste of gochujang still on her tongue, feeling alive in a way she hadn't in years. Her phone buzzed. Not Tyler. A new number. Sleep well. Thank you for a remarkable evening. Kang Min Deborah smiled, saved the number, and drove into an uncertain future that somehow felt less terrifying than the certain past she was leaving behind. Deborah woke to pounding on her apartment door. For a moment, disoriented by morning light, she thought she dreamed the entire night. Then she saw the time, 7:23 a.m., and reality crashed back. Tyler, the restaurant, Kang Min, everything. The pounding continued. She pulled on a robe and opened the door. Tyler pushed past her into the apartment, still wearing last night's clothes. His hair was disheveled, his eyes bloodshot. We need to talk. Tyler, I've been calling all night. All night, Deborah. Do you know how worried I was? She almost apologized. The instinct was so ingrained, so automatic. Sorry for not answering. Sorry for worrying you. Sorry for existing in a way that inconvenienced you. But then she remembered the taste of short rib, the way Kang Min had looked at her like she mattered, the feeling of being seen. I needed space, she said instead. Space. Tyler laughed, sharp and bitter. You embarrassed me in front of an entire restaurant. You let some random restaurant owner kick me out. You stayed there without me, and now you needed space. Yes. He stared at her like she'd spoken a foreign language. What's gotten into you? Everything, she thought. Nothing. Maybe I'm just finally waking up. Tyler, I think we need to talk about... You're right. We do. He moved closer, and she could smell stale wine on his breath. I've been thinking about this all night. I was too harsh yesterday. The wedding stress is getting to me, to both of us. So here's what we're going to do. We'll postpone. Give you 6 more months to get in shape. My mum will be disappointed, but I don't want to postpone. Relief crossed his face. Good. Then we'll keep the date, but I'll hire you a trainer, someone who can get results fast. We'll do a strict meal plan and... No, Tyler. I don't want to get married. Silence. Complete, absolute silence. Then, what? Deborah walked to her bedroom, to the jewelry box on her dresser. The engagement ring felt lighter than it had in months. She brought it back to the living room, held it out to him. I can't do this anymore. Tyler stared at the ring like it might bite him. You're joking. I'm not. Because of last night. Because I was honest about your weight. Deborah, that's insane. I was trying to help you. You were trying to control me. There's a difference. Her voice was steadier than she expected. You've been doing it for 14 months. What I eat, what I wear, what I do with my time. You dismiss my interests, criticize my body, make me feel like I'm never good enough. And last night, you called me fat in public. Because you are getting fat. Someone had to say it. The words should have hurt. A day ago, they would have destroyed her. But standing in her apartment, remembering how Kang Min had looked at her, with respect, with admiration, with genuine appreciation, they bounced off like rain. Take the ring, Tyler. No. He stepped back. No. You're just upset. You'll calm down. You'll realize I'm right. I always am. Tyler, take the ring. We sent out invitations. I'll call everyone. My family flew in last month to see the venue. I'll apologize to them. The deposits are non-refundable. I don't care about the money. Tyler's face was red now, a vein throbbing at his temple. You're throwing away everything we built because some stranger defended you. Are you sleeping with him? Is that what this is? This is about me, just me, finally choosing myself. Choosing yourself. His laugh was cruel now, all pretense of concern gone. Look at yourself, Deborah. You're a corporate lawyer who wastes time on a food blog nobody reads. You're almost 30. You're not thin. You're not getting any younger. And you think you can do better than me? Each word was designed to wound, to make her small again. She could feel the old instinct to shrink, to apologize, to believe him. But then she thought, 25,000 people read my blog. I won 3 major cases last year. I'm 28, not ancient, and my body's fine exactly as it is. I don't need to do better than you, Tyler. I just need to do better than this. She set the ring on the coffee table. Please leave. You're making a mistake, the biggest mistake of your life. He moved to the door, turned back. No one else will want you. You know that, right? You'll end up alone, and when you come crawling back, I won't be there. The old Deborah would have believed him, would have picked up the ring, apologized, promised to be better. The new Deborah, the one who'd tasted joy last night, who'd been called stunning and meant it, said, I want me. That's enough. Tyler left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the walls. Deborah stood in the silence of her apartment, the ring glinting on the table like a discarded chain. Then she sat on the couch and cried, not from regret, from relief, from fear of the unknown, from the overwhelming weight of choosing herself for the first time in years. Her phone buzzed. Good morning. I hope last night didn't cause problems. If you need anything, let me know. Kang Min. She stared at the message for a long moment, then typed, "Problems, yes, but the kind I needed. Thank you for giving me the courage to face them." His reply came quickly. "You always had the courage. You just needed permission to use it. Coffee this week? I'd love to hear your thoughts on a new menu item I'm developing." She smiled through her tears. "I'd like that." 3 days later, Deborah walked into a coffee shop in Lincoln Park. She'd spent those 3 days fielding calls from her parents, confused, her friends, supportive, and Tyler's mother, furious. She'd changed her locks, donated half her wardrobe, all the beige, structured pieces Tyler had chosen. She'd written a blog post about her grandmother's peach cobbler and cried happy tears while editing it. And now she was here, nervous in a way that felt exciting rather than anxious. Kang Min sat at a corner table, 2 cups already waiting. When he saw her, his face lit up with a smile that made her remember why she'd said yes to coffee. Not because she was looking for a replacement for Tyler, because this man saw her, really saw her, and maybe, just maybe, she was ready to be seen. "Hi," she said, sliding into the seat across from him. "Hi." He pushed one of the cups toward her. "Vanilla latte, oat milk, extra shot. That's what you ordered in your last Instagram story." "You noticed." "I notice everything," he said, echoing his words from 3 nights ago. "Especially when it comes to you." And Deborah, for the first time in 14 months, didn't feel the need to make herself smaller. Week 2, Kang Min invited her to Azure after closing. "I need an honest opinion," he'd texted. "Professional taster required. Payment in food." Deborah arrived at 11 p.m. to find the dining room empty, soft jazz playing, and Kang Min in the kitchen wearing a black apron, 5 small plates arranged on the counter. "New spring menu," he explained. "I need someone with your palate." She tasted each dish while he watched, his focus absolute. Strawberry with gochugaru and burrata. Asparagus with doenjang brown butter. Pea shoots with sesame and crispy rice. "The strawberry needs acid," she said, "and the asparagus, more salt, I think. But the pea shoots are perfect." He adjusted, made her taste again. She was right both times. His smile was better than the food. "You could do this professionally," he said. "I am doing it professionally, just not as my day job." She licked sesame oil from her thumb, caught him watching. Yet. Week 3, he taught her to make kimchi. His kitchen in Lincoln Park was twice the size of hers. Professional-grade equipment mixed with homey touches. His grandmother's mortar and pestle, Korean pottery, a rice cooker that had clearly been used thousands of times. "Kimchi is about patience," he said, showing her how to salt the Napa cabbage. "You can't rush fermentation. You can't force flavor. You have to trust the process." His hands covered hers, guiding her through the motion of coating each leaf with the gochugaru paste. The intimacy of it, standing close, breathing the same air, creating something together, made her heart race. "Like this?" she asked. "Perfect." His voice was low, close to her ear. "You're a natural." Month 1, they found their rhythm. Saturday mornings at the Green City Market, walking through stalls of early produce. He bought ingredients for Azure. She bought inspiration for blog posts. They'd cook together afterward, sometimes at his place, sometimes at hers, which she'd slowly been reclaiming with color and warmth. He taught her Korean dishes, japchae, sundubu jjigae, hobakjeon. She taught him southern cooking, proper cornbread, cast iron always, collard greens with pot liquor, her grandmother's macaroni and cheese that made him close his eyes in pleasure. They ran along the lakefront at dawn, watched old movies on his couch, introduced each other to music, She loved Coltrane. He loved Korean indie rock. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. Food, family, dreams, fears. "What do you want?" he asked one night. Both of them in his kitchen, his grandmother's short ribs simmering on the stove. "If you could do anything, be anything, what would it be?" "I don't know," she admitted. "I've spent so long doing what everyone else wanted. My parents wanted a lawyer. Tyler wanted a trophy. I'm not sure what I want anymore." "Figure it out," he said simply. "You have time. And whatever it is, I'll support it." Month 2, he brought her home to meet his family. His parents lived in a modest house in Niles, the kind of place where you took your shoes off at the door and the smell of home cooking was permanent. His mother greeted them at the door, small, elegant, her eyes assessing Deborah with the intensity of a woman who'd heard about her son's new interest and wasn't yet convinced. "Welcome," she said in accented English. "Come, eat." The dining table was covered. Kalbi, japchae, banchan, in a dozen small dishes, rice in his grandmother's pot. His father was warm immediately, asking about her work, her family, her impressions of Chicago. His mother was quieter, watching, until Deborah said, "Mrs. Kang, this kalbi is incredible. The marinade, is there Asian pear in it?" His mother's expression shifted. "You know Korean food. Kang Min has been teaching me, but this is better than anything I've made. The meat is so tender." "I marinate 3 days," his mother said. "Most people, they rush, but good food takes time." My grandmother used to say the same thing about her fried chicken. Deborah smiled. She'd brine it overnight, said quick food was for quick people. His mother almost smiled. "Your grandmother sounds wise." By the end of the night, his mother was packing containers of leftovers for Deborah to take home, showing her photos of Kang Min as a child, telling stories. When they left, she hugged Deborah at the door. "You come back," she said. "Next time, I teach you my mother's recipe, the one I don't teach to just anyone." In the car, Kang Min took her hand. "She likes you." "How can you tell?" "She offered to teach you. That's the highest honor in our family." Month 3, her parents flew up from Atlanta. Her father had been suspicious on the phone. "You just broke off an engagement, baby girl. Maybe slow down." But her mother had been cautiously optimistic. "If he makes you happy, we want to meet him." Deborah borrowed Kang Min's kitchen for the day, made her grandmother's greatest hits: fried chicken, collard greens, mac and cheese, cornbread, peach cobbler. Kang Min helped, learning her techniques the way she'd learned his. "You fold the egg whites gently," she instructed for the cobbler. "My grandmother said treat them like they're precious, because they are. Like you," he said, and kissed her temple. Her parents arrived at 6. Her father, tall and reserved, a retired postal worker who believed in hard work and family. Her mother, warm and talkative, a retired teacher who believed in love and second chances. Kang Min shook her father's hand, bowed slightly to her mother and said, "Thank you for raising someone so remarkable." Her father grunted, not yet won over. Her mother smiled. Over dinner, Kang Min asked questions, listened carefully, shared stories about his own parents' journey. When her father mentioned his love of jazz, Kang Min pulled out a vinyl, Thelonious Monk, and they spent an hour talking about music, while Deborah and her mother cleaned up. "He's good for you," her mother said, quietly. "I can see it. You're lighter, happier. It's still new, Mama. Some things you just know." Her mother squeezed her hand. "Your grandmother would have liked him. He understands food is love." By the time her parents left, Her father had invited Kang Min to Atlanta for Christmas. "You'll need to learn how to make a proper turkey," he'd said. Deborah's grandmother had a technique. That night, standing in Kang Min's kitchen, washing dishes side by side, Deborah felt it crystallize, the certainty that had been building for 3 months. "I love you," she said, the words simple and true. Kang Min set down the plate he was drying, turned to face her fully. "I love you too. Have since I read your first review of Azure. Fell harder when I actually met you. Been completely gone since you showed me how to make your grandmother's cornbread." He kissed her, soap suds and all. And Deborah thought, this is what it's supposed to feel like. Easy, right, like coming home. Month 4, a case. File landed on her desk at Sterling & Associates. Mrs. Han, Korean restaurant owner in Pilsen. Facing deportation. Landlord dispute. Visa complications. A family business about to disappear. Deborah stared at the name, remembering Kang Min's words. That review saved her business. She's my mother's best friend. Her phone rang. Tyler's old firm was representing the landlord. And suddenly, Deborah had a choice to make. Mrs. Han's file was thin, but the story was thick with injustice. 30 years in America. A small restaurant in Pilsen that served the neighborhood, fed families, employed local kids. Her visa had been tied to her husband's. He'd passed 2 years ago. Now the landlord wanted her out, claimed lease violations that didn't exist, threatened to report her to immigration if she didn't leave quietly. The landlord's attorney, Morrison and Dalton, Tyler's firm. Deborah sat in her office on the 42nd floor, the city sprawling below, and felt the weight of the choice pressing down on her chest. Taking this case meant going pro bono, meant going against one of Chicago's most powerful firms, meant putting her partnership track, the one she'd spent 6 years building, at risk. Not taking it meant Mrs. Han would lose everything, would be deported back to a country she'd left 3 decades ago, would see her life's work destroyed by greed and legal bullying. She called Kang Min. "It's your mother's friend," she said. "Mrs. Han." The case landed on my desk. Silence. Then, "What are you going to do?" "I don't know. If I take it, I'll have to do it pro bono. The partners won't approve, and Tyler's firm is on the other side. They'll make it ugly. I could lose everything I've worked for. What does your gut tell you?" Deborah looked at the file, thought about Mrs. Han's restaurant, about the grandmother who taught Kang Min to cook, about food as culture and memory and resistance, that I have to help her. But I'm scared. Of what? Of losing my career, of not being good enough to win, of making the wrong choice. Kang Min's voice was steady, certain. "Deborah, you're one of the best attorneys in Chicago. You've never lost a case that mattered. And this one matters more than any merger contract ever will. But if I lose, you won't. And if somehow you do, you'll still have done the right thing. You'll still be able to look at yourself in the mirror." He paused. "Do what's right. I'll support you either way. But I think you already know what right looks like." She did. God help her, she did. The partners called her in the next morning. Richard Sterling sat behind his mahogany desk, 60 years of corporate law making him look carved from stone. "I hear you're considering the Han case." "Yes. Pro bono. She can't afford representation, and she deserves whatever the law provides, which isn't much for someone in her situation." He leaned back. "Deborah, you're up for partner next year. You have the best win record in your class. Don't throw it away on a case you can't win against a firm like Morrison and Dalton." "I think I can win." "Even if you do, it's career suicide. We have corporate clients who do business with Morrison. Taking this case puts those relationships at risk. Taking it pro bono signals you're not serious about your future here. Deborah felt her grandmother's voice in her head. Baby girl, when you cook for someone, you're giving them a piece of your soul. Make sure it's a piece worth having. What piece of her soul was she giving to Sterling and Associates? What was she feeding with her 6-figure salary and her corner office and her partnership track? I'm taking the case, she said. Sterling's expression hardened. Then you're choosing to leave this firm? No, I'm choosing to be the kind of lawyer I went to law school to become, the kind who helps people, not just corporations. That's naive. Maybe, but it's true. She stood. I'll have my decision in writing by end of day. She walked out before he could respond. Kang Min helped her prepare. He provided financial records from Azure, showing Mrs. Han's restaurant was profitable, stable, a neighborhood institution. He connected her with other business owners who dealt with the same landlord, a pattern of harassment, of forcing out long-term tenants for redevelopment. His mother came by Deborah's apartment with Mrs. Han herself, small, resilient, her hands worn from decades of kitchen work. She held Deborah's hands and said, in halting English, "Thank you. You don't know me, but you fight for me." "I know you," Deborah said, "through your food, through what you've built, and you deserve better than this." 3 weeks of preparation. Late nights reviewing immigration law, documenting the landlord's pattern, building an airtight case. Kang Min brought her dinner, rubbed her shoulders when she was tense, believed in her when she doubted herself. The day before trial, he found her at her desk at 2 a.m., surrounded by documents. "Come to bed," he said. "I can't. If I miss something." "You won't. You never do." He pulled her to her feet. "You're ready. You've always been ready. Now you just need to trust yourself." The courtroom was packed. Morrison and Dalton sent 3 attorneys. Expensive suits, calculated confidence. She recognized one of them, had seen him at Tyler's office parties, all swagger and entitlement. Deborah wore her grandmother's pearls and her own conviction. She presented the evidence methodically. The landlord's pattern of harassment, the documented lease violations that didn't exist, the clear retaliation against a tenant who knew her rights, the immigration threats designed to intimidate. She called witnesses, other business owners, community members, Kang Min's mother, who spoke about Mrs. Han's 30 years of service, of feeding the neighborhood, of preserving culture. The opposing counsel tried to make it about immigration status, about lease technicalities, about business as usual. Deborah made it about justice, about dignity, about a woman who'd built something beautiful and deserved to keep it. The judge, a black woman in her 50s, listened carefully, asked pointed questions, then delivered her ruling. Mrs. Han's lease is valid. The landlord's violations are fabricated. The immigration threats constitute harassment. Case dismissed. Mrs. Han keeps her restaurant. The courtroom erupted. Mrs. Han wept. Kang Min's mother embraced her. Deborah felt tears on her own cheeks, victory tasting sweeter than any she'd won for corporations. Outside the courthouse, her phone rang. Sterling. "Effective immediately. We're asking you to resign. Clear your office by end of week." Deborah looked at Mrs. Han, surrounded by community, by people she'd fed and loved. Looked at Kang Min, pride shining in his eyes. "Okay," she said. "I will." She hung up. Kang Min pulled her close. "You did it." "I did." She laughed, giddy with relief and terror and freedom. "I also just ended my career." "No, you just started your real one." 6 months later, Deborah stood in her own office. The office in Pilsen wasn't fancy. a converted loft above a Mexican bakery, the smell of pan dulce drifting up through the floorboards every morning, mismatched furniture from thrift stores, plants in the windows, art from local artists on the walls. But it was hers. Wood and Associates, Immigration and Small Business Law. 6 months after walking out of Sterling, Deborah had built something real. 10 clients that first month, 20 the second. Now she had a waiting list. Restaurant owners facing visa issues, families fighting deportation, small businesses dealing with predatory landlords, people who needed a lawyer but couldn't afford corporate rates. She charged what they could pay. Sometimes that was money. Sometimes it was dinner at their restaurant. Sometimes it was just gratitude. Her blog had evolved too. Chicago Eats with Deborah now had 150,000 followers. She still wrote about food, but also about the people behind it. Mrs. Han's story. The Guatemalan family whose tamale stand she'd saved from closure. The Pakistani family whose samosa cart was being harassed by the city. Food and justice, culture and resistance. It all wove together. "You're late," her assistant called as Deborah rushed in that Saturday morning. Maria, a law student from DePaul, brilliant and organized and undocumented herself. Farmers market ran long. Kang Min was... Deborah stopped, seeing Maria's smile. "What?" "Nothing. Just that you're glowing. And you've been running long at the farmers market every Saturday for 6 months. We're discussing a catering partnership for client events." "Sure you are." Maria handed her a coffee. "Also, Mrs. Han called. Wants to know if you'll come by the restaurant tonight. Something about a special menu." But Kang Min had other plans. "Meet me at the market," he'd texted. "I have something to show you." She found him at their usual spot, the Korean vendor who sold produce and banchan, who'd known Kang Min since he was 12. But today, the area was transformed. A small table set up nearby, covered with a cloth his grandmother had embroidered. Candles, even though it was daylight. And food. So much food. "What is this?" Deborah asked. "Sit, please." She sat. Kang Min took the seat across from her, and she could see he was nervous. Kang Min, who commanded kitchens and confronted bullies, was nervous. "I made you something," he said. The table held dishes from both their grandmothers. His grandmother's japchae, made with the glass noodles she'd taught him to prep. Her grandmother's mac and cheese, the recipe Deborah had shared. Korean short rib next to collard greens. Kimchi beside cornbread. A beautiful collision of cultures, of histories, of love. "Kang Min, let me say this before I lose my nerve." He took her hands. 6 months ago, you walked away from everything safe, everything certain. You chose justice over comfort, purpose over prestige. You chose yourself. You helped me choose. No, you made that choice alone. I just got to witness it. He squeezed her hands. "Deborah, you're the most remarkable person I've ever met. You see beauty in everything. You fight for people who can't fight for themselves. You understand that feeding someone, whether with food or justice or hope, is the most important work there is." Tears were already building in her eyes. My grandmother used to say that the best meals are the ones where nothing is hidden. No pretense, no performance, just real food, made with real love, for people who matter. He reached into his pocket. "That's what I want with you. Nothing hidden, just real, forever." The ring was stunning. Modern design, but incorporating traditional elements. Korean jade and African opal, gold that caught the morning light. "Deborah Wood, will you marry me? Will you build this messy, beautiful, real life with me? Will you let me spend every day trying to deserve you?" "Yes." The word came out choked with tears. "Yes, You ridiculous man. Yes. He slid the ring on her finger, stood, pulled her into his arms. Around them, the market erupted, vendors applauding, weekend shoppers cheering, the Korean vendor wiping her eyes. Someone started playing guitar. Kang Min kissed her there in the middle of the Green City market, tasting of coffee and joy and forever. 2 weeks later, they stood in Azure's dining room making an announcement. Both families were there. His parents, beaming. Her parents, who'd flown up from Atlanta. Mrs. Han and half of Pilsen's Korean community. Deborah's clients, the Azure staff, everyone who'd been part of their story. We have news, Kang Min said, his arm around Deborah's waist. Beyond the engagement. We're starting something new, Deborah continued. Azure Legal Services. A free legal clinic for small business owners, immigrant families, anyone who needs help but can't afford traditional representation. Every Monday, Kang Min added. Azure is closed Mondays anyway. Now it'll be open for something more important than dinner, service. It'll be open for justice. We're stronger together than separate, Deborah said. Food and law, culture and rights, community and care. That's what we want to build. The room was silent for a moment. Then Mrs. Han stood, raised her glass. To building beautiful things, she said in careful English. To love that serves. To finding family in unexpected places. To Deborah and Kang Min, Kang Min's mother added, who understand what matters. To my daughter, Deborah's father said, his voice thick, who finally found someone worthy of her. They toasted. They ate. Mrs. Han had brought food, the same dishes Deborah had reviewed 2 years ago, the post that started everything. Kang Min's staff served Azure's finest. Both families mixed, shared stories, found common ground in love of food and family and these two people who'd found each other. Later, Deborah stood by the windows overlooking the Chicago River, Kang Min beside her, both their families talking and laughing behind them. We're doing this, she said. Really doing this. We are, scared. Terrified. But also, she turned to him, also more sure than I've ever been about anything. Even more sure than when you took Mrs. Han's case. Even more sure than that. She kissed him. Thank you. For what? For seeing me. For defending me. For believing I could be more than I thought I was. You always were more, Deborah. You just needed permission to show it. He pulled her close. Now you're giving other people that same permission. That's everything. Through the window, Chicago glittered in the evening light. Somewhere out there, someone needed help. Someone needed defending. Someone needed to be told they were worthy, stunning, enough. And now Deborah and Kang Min would be there to tell them. Together. 1 year to the day, they returned to Azure for dinner. 1 year to the day. Deborah sat at the same corner table in Azure where Tyler had called her fat, where Kang Min had defended her, where everything had changed. But now she wore a wedding band that matched the engagement ring on her finger. Both bands, hers and Kang Min's, custom made, incorporating both Korean and African design elements. Symbols of two cultures, two families, two people who'd built something neither could have built alone. Hard to believe it's been a year, Kang Min said, reaching across the table to take her hand. His thumb traced the rings. Best year of my life. Mine too. And it was true. Wood & Associates now had 3 employees and a waiting list that stretched months. Azure Legal Services had helped 43 families in 8 months. Her blog had hit 200,000 followers last week. The wedding was planned for June, a fusion ceremony honoring both traditions, both families, both of them. Do you ever regret it? He asked, leaving Sterling, starting over, all of it. Not once. She looked around the restaurant. Do you regret kicking out Tyler? Only that I didn't do it sooner. He smiled, though I suppose the timing was perfect. Any earlier, you might not have been ready. Any later, someone else might have gotten to play hero. You're not a hero. You're just a good man who saw something wrong and fixed it. Then let me rephrase. I'm grateful the universe gave me the chance to be in the right place at the right time. Their server, the same young woman who'd witnessed the confrontation a year ago, brought their food. She smiled knowingly at them, had heard the story a dozen times from other staff members. The couple who fell in love at table 7. Azure's favorite romance. Deborah had ordered the short rib, obviously. They ate slowly, savoring, talking about the wedding plans, the latest case, the new menu Kang Min was developing. Life, their life, real and messy and beautiful. Then Deborah heard it. A voice from 2 tables over, male, irritated, too loud. Are you seriously going to eat all of that? We just talked about this. She looked up, saw a young woman, early 20s, black, beautiful, shrinking in her seat. Saw her boyfriend gesturing at her plate with barely concealed disgust. Saw the familiar shame settling over her shoulders like a weight. Deborah's hand tightened on her fork. Kang Min followed her gaze, his expression darkening. Don't, the boyfriend continued. You promised you'd try harder, but here you are, ordering pasta, carbs, again. The young woman's voice was barely audible. I'm sorry, I just thought... You didn't think. That's the problem. I'm trying to help you look better, and you keep self-sabotaging. Deborah looked at Kang Min. He looked at her. An entire conversation happened in that glance. They stood up together. Excuse me, Kang Min said, approaching the couple's table with the same quiet authority he'd used a year ago. I'm the owner here. Is everything all right? The boyfriend looked up, annoyed. Everything's fine. Just having a private conversation with my girlfriend. It didn't sound private. It sounded cruel. Deborah stepped forward, standing beside the young woman. And cruelty isn't welcome here. Who are you? The boyfriend demanded. Someone who was sitting exactly where she is a year ago, Deborah said quietly. Hearing exactly what she's hearing, feeling exactly what she's feeling. The young woman looked up, tears in her eyes. I'm fine. Really. He's just trying to help you, Deborah finished. That's what my ex said too, right before he called me fat in this very restaurant, at that table over there. She pointed. And you know what I learned? People who love you don't tear you down. They don't make you feel ashamed for existing in your body. They don't weaponize food against you. This is none of your business, the boyfriend said, standing. You made it our business when you humiliated her in public, Kang Min replied. His voice was calm but unmovable. Now you have a choice. You can apologize and leave, or you can just leave. But either way, you're leaving. You can't kick me out for... I can. I'm doing it. Same table, same offense, same outcome. Kang Min gestured toward the door. 10 seconds. The boyfriend looked at the young woman. Are you coming or not? She sat frozen, exactly like Deborah had been, torn between the familiar pain and the terrifying unknown. Deborah knelt beside her chair. I don't know you, but I know this moment. And I know you have a choice right now. You can leave with him and keep shrinking, or you can stay and start growing. She met the young woman's eyes. You deserve to take up space, to eat what you want, to exist without apology. I promise you that. A tear rolled down the young woman's cheek. Then she looked at her boyfriend. I think you should leave. Are you serious? After everything I've done for you? Please leave. Her voice was stronger now. I'm staying." He left, muttering threats and insults that bounced off like rain. The restaurant was silent, everyone watching. Then someone started clapping. Then everyone was clapping. The young woman looked at Deborah, overwhelmed. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll eat your pasta. Say you'll enjoy it." Deborah smiled. "And say you'll remember this feeling, the feeling of choosing yourself the next time someone tries to make you small." Kang Min appeared with the short rib. "On the house, and whatever else you want, you're safe here." Later, back at their table, Deborah watched the young woman eat with visible pleasure, saw her shoulders straighten, saw her smile. "We did that," she said to Kang Min. "You did that. I just provided backup. We did it together." She laced her fingers through his, their wedding bands clicking softly together. "That's how everything good happens. Together." She thought about Tyler calling her fat, Kang Min calling her stunning, the year between then and now, the practice she'd built, the lives they'd changed, the love they'd found. But mostly, she thought about the moment she'd learned the most important truth. Other people's words only have the power you give them. Tyler had called her fat. Kang Min had called her stunning. But she called herself worthy, and that was what mattered. That night, she wrote a blog post. Not about food exactly, about nourishment, about feeding yourself with dignity, with joy, with the understanding that your body deserves celebration, not criticism. She titled it, "The Best Things in Life Are Never on a Diet." It went viral. Azure Legal Services added evening hours. The young woman from the restaurant sent a message. "I broke up with him. Thank you for showing me I could." And Deborah and Kang Min kept building, kept feeding, kept fighting, kept loving, together. 3 months later, they'd marry. 6 months after that, they'd open a second legal clinic. A year after that, Deborah would write a book about food justice and immigrant rights. But tonight, sitting at table 7 in Azure, eating short rib and planning their future, they simply held hands and understood. The best things in life aren't found on any menu. They're found in choosing yourself, in finding love that celebrates you, in becoming exactly who you were always meant to be. One brave choice at a time. And that's a wrap. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow and lets me know you're interested in more of this kind of stuff. I've got another video coming up that I think you're really going to enjoy, so keep an eye out for that. It'll be popping up on your feed soon, or you can check the description below for a link once it's live. Thanks again for your time, and I'll see you in the next one.